a thermal imaging camera on a ghost hunt. It's interactive, guys, I promise.
So temperature
how so?
Irregularities.
Irregularities, but how so? Hot or cold? Cold, right. We're looking for cold spots. Steel to Dutch. So, but with that, this camera is the real deal. Like, this is basically what firemen use to actually help save people. Like, this is a FLIR. So it's attached to a cell phone, obviously. But we are literally looking for the blue and black spots to be moving on their own. You should be able to see me in there, the red, orange, and yellow guy. Sorry, Michael, but that means I'm the hottest thing in the video, just so you guys know. But see, laughter, that's good. You guys are going to have fun. But the whole point of this is we're looking for those blue and black spots to either take shape or start moving on their own. Normally, an anomaly will go anywhere between 15 degrees colder than the ambient temperature. And of course, I'll be studying that as I'm kind of spot checking your video. So again, for every 5 minutes of recording of anything, I only watch about 1 to 2 minutes of it. Again, spot checking. I'm only going to go through it for about 2 hours. So with that, Michael, I think I'm going to go with you on this one.
Okay.
He's like, oh man,
Yeah, really?
it's a cell phone.
No,
Just treat it just like a cell phone.
All right.
A lot of people are like, oh my god.
Oh no, but
Yes, I'm here.
And your hand's covering the camera.
yeah, all right.
And your fingers are still covering the camera.
Oh,
there
no.
we go.
Oh, it's on the end here.
Yep.
Oh, I see
All
that's
right,
again.
yeah, all right,
So
gotcha.
what you are going to do is you're going to keep it horizontal all night long, the opposite way. Camera on your left.
All right,
There you go.
okay, all right.
Now what you're going to do is, because the video, when I send it to YouTube, is not going to know what to do with it, hit the red square that's on your left. Stay horizontal all night long. Otherwise, normally I joke around and say, I got to give out your phone number so that you can take the complaints for the upside down video. But I splice all the video because this is a replacement. I think I finally got a little crazy. Yeah, we're not going anywhere yet. Hang tight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Back on the leaves.
Yep, back on the leaves. All right, so yeah, I wanted it recording now so everybody kind of had another gist, because sometimes this audio gets muffled. That's okay.
That's my fault.
You're perfectly fine. He was the one who flipped it to begin with, so we'll blame him. He's fine with that. So there's a reason why we start here. Big John's behind me, of course. So the place is haunted. Of course it is. That's why we start here. So it used to be owned by a football player. His name was Big John Kennedy. He owned the place. He played for the 1947 New York Giants. Now, he used to sit in the back of the bar, and he would tell the bartender if the cadets coming over from the Citadel if they were old enough to drink or not. And one night, 2 guys come in, they're not old enough to drink. So one night, I'm sorry, I got all thrown off by the noise over there. He has the bartender throw them out. They come back the next night and try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. Big John sees what's going on. He slams down his beer. He gets up and starts pounding these guys into the floor, just beating the hell out of them. A couple of gunshots go off. John gets grazed in the neck, and the bullet lands behind him in the wall. John gets up after being shot. He's the only one that's been shot, by the way. Goes back to the bar, tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the 2 guys on the floor, an ambulance. So, funny part of that story is normally I would tell you that there's a haunting in that building. You automatically think of some kind of tragic death. What's haunting the place is the bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. Even if the renovation of Big John's that we're now looking at filled in that bullet hole, Big John's blood is still here. People that sit in the front of this bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or a headache. This is kind of your heated warning. Fingers crossed, we're going to be dealing with some paranormal activity tonight. Again, I have no idea what's going to happen.
Are we going in that bar?
We're not. We're not going in. She's going to be my silly one. Right? So, now see, I lost track again. Oh, your heated warning. Anybody feels any of those symptoms tonight? I need to know. Like, it's a pretty big deal. I won't say that I haven't called the paramedics in the past or that people haven't passed out on this tour. So, now that some of you looked at me like, what the hell did Chelsea drag me into? Let's talk about something else, same building, just to get your mindset off of it, and then we're going to move on. We had a big earthquake here in 1886. It's an anomaly for us because this is South Carolina. We're supposed to have hurricanes, not earthquakes. This building is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. The white mantle you see in the middle of it also goes around the front of the building on East Bay Street. A piece of it broke off, struck somebody in the back of the head, and they say it killed him, but you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street. I say apparently and allegedly a lot with that because I don't have any proof. It's just a great segue, so none of you are thinking about getting sick on the tour, even though I just brought it up again. So, with that said, are we all ready to go ghost hunting now?
Yay.
You guys were ready 5 minutes ago, so let's do this. We're going to go up this way.
All right.
Who are you gonna call?
Us. Clearly. Right.
Look, I want to know if there's any paranormal activity, so you guys stay on the ball.
What? Really?
That's what I was like, is this a pub crawl too?
We needed a thermos for this.
So let me know if a little
we stop for a
phrase
shot
comes up that
somewhere?
says please format as the card. Here before we move to the next slide.
I
All right,
should, huh?
so welcome to
You
your
think
first
you own
space.
me or what?
Okay. Well, pay attention.
So notice my voice changed and it dropped a little bit. We're next to the horse barn, so basically they can hear us, and it's part of the reason why we use earbuds with the spirit boxes now. So we're not going to be here for very long, but imagine when I have 10 people, I have to explain 10 more devices now that they're in your hands. So this is where we hold the horses that have your carriage, or that lead your carriage rides. But the history here is really simple, and I made it that way on purpose. So that way we can get into your devices pretty quickly. This is the same red barn that held horses that used to deliver milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. There's always going to be keywords in every single history that I'm going to give you tonight. I always do my best, but you guys are from the north. You'll understand, obviously, my dialect. When I have southerners here, they always ask me to slow down. That's why I say, nope, can't do that. That's why we record everything. But I would do my best to slow down on specific keywords that were going to be relevant to the spirit boxes that we're using tonight. Now, granted, we only have, we have 3 spirit boxes out tonight, so we're still using 3. Over there, the keywords would have been 47, New York, Giants, and anything relatable to a bar, right? Except for comments from Jane. So this space would be delivery, milk, eggs, and anything relatable to a stable, right? So let's talk about those spirit boxes, because there's half of you actually have one. This is not a Ouija board. This is not a television show. Everybody wants to ask the same question. What do you think everybody's first question usually is?
Is there anybody there?
Is there anybody there,
Oh.
right? Is somebody here, usually? And if somebody hears the word no, that means somebody's here. We are not going to be asking yes and no questions all night long. Whether you're my skeptic or not, you're here for some kind of paranormal proof, even if you didn't think you were. So we're going to be asking very specific questions. I would normally say in a space like this, if somebody has never used a spirit box before, you would ask questions you already know the answers to. For an example, what color is the big red barn? That way you know you're listening for the color red. However, most of you, well, 2 out of the 3 spirit boxes are using song lyrics and DJs to be able to convey messages back to us. The color red might not be available at that particular time to get a direct answer.
Is this
But
a word?
what's it say?
Or is that
Intern.
just,
No, that's the screen you should be watching.
Okay.
is that where my
Where
words
did the
are
words
coming?
come
Yep,
up?
they're going to
There?
come up right in the center.
Okay.
Intern?
Again, I told you 80% of it's going to be bullshit.
Okay.
Again,
Okay.
I'm not here to make stuff up. When things come up very
No,
specific,
we really don't want
This
you
doesn't
to.
record,
yeah, and I
right?
won't.
All right.
I won't all night long.
Okay.
So is that the only word you've had come up?
I don't know. I was looking up here.
So hold it still for me. I'm going
Okay.
to show you how to get to the
Milk
list. See this
and
little white box?
eggs.
Yeah.
You'll tap it, and it'll show you every. Look at that. What came up already?
Nicholas, December.
What's my name?
Attitude. December.
Attitude.
Nicholas.
The guy with the
Like
hat.
getting personal, saying I have an
My name?
attitude.
No, my name comes up all the time.
Okay.
I'm just pointing that out.
Okay.
I don't see Jane.
Yeah. 6
I will also tell you that December is relevant to where we are as well, and I'm going to get into that later on.
ancient.
Yeah, bullshit.
Okay.
Again, I'm going to do that all night long.
Okay.
That's nothing too vague.
Okay.
I need specifics. December,
Okay.
Nicholas, those work for me. So, fire truck, blood, heart. Those 3 things are specifically red. I would actually accept that as an acceptable answer on a DJ, like a spirit box that's sweeping FM radio stations. What color is the big red barn? Blood. I'm good with that. However, most of the night, I'm going to require that there's at least 2 happenings coming out of either 1 or 2 devices or more to kind of verify what's going on in real time. Another example. Jane, was it? So let's say Jane's word list has the word art on it. That doesn't mean anything by itself. Jessica, am I getting that name right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so if Jessica hears the number 40 and we get art at the same time, Art Faircloth was number 40 on Big John's team. Do you guys see where I'm putting these clues together already? That's how we're going to be doing this all night long. So again, a lot of the times I might say, that's pretty cool, we're going to see what else happens with that. Just so I can, because again, I'm going to withhold information on purpose. So that way everybody here has a genuine experience. So my name showing up right off the top of the night, it's actually a pretty good sign. We're going to have a pretty decent night. So just so you guys get that understanding. And I think I have everybody's name down but yours.
Sarah.
Sarah.
Oh,
Got it.
Sarah.
Okay. So I have Jessica, Shay, Michael, Chelsea.
Jane.
No,
Jayla.
Jay.
I said Shay.
Che, he did.
Jane. Jane. You called him. Whatever.
It doesn't
Fine.
matter.
Got it.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
Personalized tour. So let's talk about these. Does everybody kind of have a better gist of how to use your spirit boxes at this point?
It's just very
Yep.
hard to hear.
It is. It's not an easy job. All right.
And listen to you at the same time.
Let's talk about these cameras so
Really
we can go
tough.
learn much more
Where's my
deeper
flash?
history. Michael, your camera, you're going to try to do 2 things for us.
Oh no.
Yep. So, very easy to do actually. So, both of you, with both cameras being out, we're going to be in some spaces tonight where there's going to be parked cars or people passing by. If I do like an Andy's coming, you're basically going to point your camera at the ground. People don't like their cars to be filmed, and they don't like to be filmed themselves. Yours is easier because it's just a cell phone, but yours it looks very
Pretty
Ghostbuster.
obvious,
Yeah,
yeah.
pointed at the ground. But with your camera, as you actually using it, trying to capture some really good footage, you're going to try to keep one of us in view. Our skin temperature is going to put an array of color on that screen because we're going to be the warmest thing out here. We want that array of color. It's much easier to find cold spots when you can see the whole spectrum. The other thing you're going to try to do is keep the sky out of view.
The
blue
sky?
dot, yeah.
Okay,
There's
yep.
a blue dot giving you the coldest spot in the frame at that moment. It will default to the sky every time it's in view because there's no surface. So
Okay.
again, if you can, it's going to be impossible in some spaces, keep the sky out.
Oh, really?
As far as your camera goes, you can probably
keep the
accompany
sky
Miss
out?
Jessica with the other earbud
Yeah,
because
yeah,
again,
yeah.
this isn't always a real-time like live action thing. With
Okay.
it's more about capturing really
That's
slow
the spot
footage,
zone?
so that way we can review it in the morning.
Okay.
Especially since we're not using the
But you
lasers
didn't
with
use
this
it not
tonight.
to
I
do
wanted to
that,
get the
right?
more
The sky.
active type devices out for everybody.
Okay.
But that way you can actually take Jessica's other earbud and you can help her listen on the other end, but you will hear the same things.
Cool.
This way you guys can verify what's going on.
Sweet.
Sarah, I'm going to work with you at the next stop, just so you know, because yours takes a little bit more detail, and everybody's ready to learn much deeper history than football players and ponies. Is that fair?
Oh yeah.
All right, let's go learn some colonial history. Let's go this way.
Who? What did you say?
Very. What? Very disorienting.
Something around here.
That's not overwhelming at all.
No, yeah. Overstimulation. I can turn it down, but then it's hard to hear if I turn.
Did you hear it? It just said down.
See, that's why I have trouble catching things.
All right. We had any numbers pop up on that thing at all?
1.8.
Up to 1.1 is basically a natural reading from the Earth, so I don't get excited until it goes to 2.5 and higher.
That's what it is.
All right, perfect. Your camera stopped recording, Chelsea.
Hear that?
Do you have that little phrase on the screen that says, please format SD card?
No.
Okay, it's going to be very touchy. I thought I took it off that where it's going to stop
Okay.
after every
There we
file.
go.
So every couple of minutes you just
Should
need to
mine
make
be
sure.
unmuted?
We're going to leave it muted for another
Alright.
2 or 3 minutes, and then we're going to crank it up, and we're going to get you guys to work. So, welcome to a parking lot. You guys made it. Congratulations. Another beautiful spot of Charleston. So, told you I'm taking you to weird spaces. So, with this spot, this used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion site. It sat in the front of this lot facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across. And we are standing in this...
4.5.
Perfect. Nice. Remind me to write that one down. We're standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home, just so everybody kind of has the layout of where we are. Now, Spirit Boxes, I am not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse. You're going to get the answers from your Spirit Boxes. I'm going to withhold information purposely. I will tell you that the month of December is prominent here in 2 different ways, and we already had the month of December show up a block away. It's almost like we're getting a preamp of what's actually going to happen. You have to remember, I'm out here 7 nights a week, so people know we're coming. So, with that said, who the heck were Charles and Eliza? They had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 Charleses. Do you guys see why I look for those second clue verifiers at this point? Because we need to know who the heck we're talking to. But the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. It's a pretty big deal for us, but I hate politics more than anybody here. I can guarantee you that. So we're going to move on. Eliza married Charles at a young age according to the colonial times that she came from. I'm sorry.
4.7.
According to today's times, she keeps spouting off numbers in my ear and I'm getting thrown off. So,
Sorry.
what's the highest one you've seen?
5 right now.
Okay.
Sorry. All right.
Didn't you say 11 a minute ago?
Yeah, I went up to 11 for a second.
Okay, so now we're going to escalate it past 11.
Okay.
Okay.
Shut up now.
I don't want you
I
to
thought
shut
you were
up.
supposed
That's
to
not
tell
difficult.
him.
Yeah, I do want to know, but
Yeah.
she doesn't give me a chance to like write anything down yet,
Oh.
and all of those things, and I want to escalate it. Like I don't want to go up to 11.8 and then back down to 2.9 and so forth and so on.
Okay.
But she doesn't give me that a chance yet. That's cool. So I'm glad she's excited. Super glad she's excited, actually. So, but Eliza married Charles at a young age according to today's standards, not the colonial times that she came from. So spirit boxes, if you ask Eliza how old she was when she got married, you're not going to hear numbers like 12 and 14. Think of today's standards. The only reason I bring this up is because her husband was over double her age. Kind of creepy back then, a little creepy now. Just so you guys know, it's a pretty big age gap between the two of them. But with that, she married her father, or she married him because her father over in England thought he was dying. And he wanted to see all of his children one last time. So he's trying to bring all of his kids home. Well, at least Eliza didn't think he was dying, so she stayed put. It's 1744. She didn't marry Charles for a green card or citizenship because we're not even a country yet. She did marry him out of love, and she was right. Her father did not die right away. Instead, he starts sending her gifts from England to this space. You guys have been in town for at least a few hours that I know of. You've seen the word indigo somewhere. He sent her the plant seeds of indigo, and it started right here. Indigo is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans blue. None of you have one.
I have it growing in my garden right now.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. So, with that, she didn't know what to do with these seeds when she got them. So she had to learn from her slaves on how to keep it cultivated. It's not always hot down here. You would think it is, but it's not. Winter does get cold. So once she was done experimenting with it here in her garden, she moved it to a plantation just north of here in Mount Pleasant, calls her dad up and says, hey, rice plantations are going downhill. She didn't literally call him. It's the 1700s. You had that look of confusion. But she says, rice plantations are going downhill. We can make a killing with this indigo. Now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times. Something absolutely unheard of. So that's her business. Let's get into the weird shit, because that's why everybody's here, right? So Eliza's the second wife named Eliza, back to back from Charles. Yeah, it's really smart or really stupid, depending on how you look at it. And it's only 5 months apart. First wife Eliza dies in January of 1744. He marries the second Eliza, who planted the indigo, in May of 1744. Yeah. If we want to figure out which Eliza we're actually dealing with, ask the maiden name. Ironically, both Elizas have a maiden name that starts with the letter L. That's the only thing I'm going to tell you, so that way you can actually get a genuine response and not know what it is. The mansion's not here anymore. You can ask what happened to it. If we get an answer, we can obviously ask what year that happened. There are times where I get the full date.
You'll see.
You'll see.
There are times we get the full date. So, clue is the month of December. That's one of the ways that the word December is actually relevant to this space. So that's one of two ways. I'm going to wait for a secondary verifier to be able to figure out like which way that December is actually relevant. Again, that's a very specific month. If we get the date and or the year, obviously it's relatable to the tragedy that happened to the mansion. So, the children, I told you there's at least Charles. There are more. You can ask how many and what the children's names were, but that's about it. The reason why is because there's a tragedy among those kids. If we poke the bear, we're going to piss off Eliza, and all activity will stop, including Sarah's readings that she's getting on her device. So don't poke the bear and ruin the tour for everybody, because again, this is a big hot spot. Last but not least, ask anything you want to about Eliza's death. You can ask her how old she was when she died, where she died, what she died from, and what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Notice all of these questions are non-yes or no questions. They're all very, very specific. It won't always be a blatant answer, but the blatant answer may come up. 3 spirit boxes in play tonight. If you're asking questions, those answers can go to many devices. They can go to a different device. So if you're asking a question, they may hear the answer, might go to my audio, Michael's audio, the audio on the camera. We never know where it's actually going to pop up. That's why I love to use so many different recording devices, because you might ask a question but it goes elsewhere. It happens all the time. It's actually more than likely. That's why I hate the television shows that only use one device at a time. So we are going to be staying within the confines of these walls. We're going to stay away from the handful of vehicles that are in here. We're kind of fortunate that there's not many in here tonight. Just kind of keep in mind when people are passing through, we don't want to record them through video, at least blatantly, and never point your cameras directly at a car and stand still. They don't like that either. So we're definitely going to turn that, like unmute that guy, and nice slow movements on those cameras. I am going to work with Sarah for just a few minutes so that way I can get those recordings down of the things that she saw, and obviously your word list is going to be super important. So
I got lots of words.
can we take a look? Go ahead and hit the little white box. And what are the last 4 or 5 words that actually popped up?
Liberal, sample, enough, club. and gone.
Yeah, it's all too vague. I want the specifics. Names, dates, specific things that are pertinent to this location.
Okay.
So there are some nights where that list is wonderful. I'll grab 20 or 30 terms out of it. That was like a super active night for me. Other nights, I might get 1 or 2.
Okay.
It's just one of those pieces. But so
Okay.
far, I'm super stoked about December and Nicholas.
Well, okay.
All right.
This is sort
So
of like this, I
let's
think.
get those numbers of what you saw. And I wasn't
So,
trying to be rude.
what
It was
about
like a matter of
filtering
like,
out a lot
I
of
want to
that
make sure
shit
she's
that
not
we're
going back and
missing?
forth, back and forth. So 11.5 is the highest so far, right?
Ask questions.
For like a second.
Yeah, but that's why they call it those
Then I
things.
find out like what.
But you had an 11.5, and I also told me a 5.
Those are 5.
This happened a lot.
Perfect. So I would say anything in the 20s.
Okay.
So let's talk about your REM pod emotions.
Hmm.
Happening anything? All right.
Hmm? I can see through your dress.
Did not just say hello?
Anything else pop up for you?
Blinding.
Now's when I need to do shots. You know?
I said Eliza?
Yeah, no, none. So I thought that was a good idea.
Started laughing. Hey, you guys here? I'm like, no, I was kind of do it. So they heard the song. And like, the word "ye" was definitely relevant to the space that they ran at. So that was kind of the mentality that I gave them. Like, we're almost done with our entire 19 and now you're getting to the kind of so, but you guys grab on for really quick. But yeah, I'm going to be bouncing around with everybody. And with this one, it's a lot of fun just to hear hearing things, and I might miss it if you watch that. And again, 24 markers that I so, right, Miss Shay, what are we getting on today? Okay, again, you're only going to hear about 10 to 12 things total tonight. That's been about the average. 26. When you do hear something, it is clear as day.
Okay.
I mean, it is super clear. So it's usually not any. What was it?
41. I asked for a blue and it says 41.
Oh, shit. See, you're getting like little tiny voices. Can't really discern what they are. The second night I had this, and this is still relatively new to the tour. If you have motion, go ahead and reset it.
So every time it beeps at me, I
Every
reset
single
it?
time. Every time you get a color, reset it to see if it goes back to the same color. Second night I was using this, about 2 months ago, maybe a little bit longer now. I was talking, we're going to obviously be discussing pirates here in Charleston. But at that point, the word pirate came up, loud and clear. And luckily that person was standing next to the thermal imaging camera, and we caught it on the camera itself. First off, who the hell saying the word pirates? Because it wasn't like, and the Pittsburgh Pirates today, you know, it was more like pirate, like very clear, like a one-word statement. I was like, okay, we'll take it. But yeah, this thing so far has been amazing. It's not very, how do I put this, super exciting all night long, because it's not like the two girls that are listening where they're hearing things all night, you're getting static and that kind of thing. But yeah, that thing is super fun. Your camera is not an always in the moment type thing either, but if you do happen to find something, awesome. We'll take a look at it, we'll try to debunk it, we'll try to prove it. But yeah, you definitely got the camera on your left, nice slow movements out of this thing. So, but yeah, the slower you go with that guy, the much easier it is to watch for everybody later on. Because I send it to YouTube, that way you guys can watch it however you want to.
Oh.
TV, computer, tablet, whatever. So that way it's you know, you can blow it up. All right, let me check on this thing.
How are you answering? Yeah? No. Oh my God, Sarah, thank you, baby, for being this food.
Hold my device.
Yeah, I want to see. Oh my God, oh my God.
Jesus. What'd you do?
Sarah and I drive followed the last mile and we have a horrible face, no liquid, no what? Because I take this with myself. And if I have to take myself, yes.
No.
So you're kind of like the fact checker on everybody, other than, you know what I
I
mean?
like that. I like that job.
I like that job. She likes being the fact checker.
Yeah. Because we're,
So am I just like walking around?
yeah, you're a fact checker. And your 41 is obviously a good
I
thing.
get
Like, definitely got that in your list of what you've gotten so far. That actually, that sounded like a car beep, didn't it?
No, it's not. Yeah, music or something. Yeah, it did. Yeah. Didn't it? You heard that.
I
too.
did hear it, yeah.
You did. Seriously.
Nothing else coming out of
What
your
was that
box
word?
you guys can make out? Again, it's not an easy job. I know that one for sure.
Well, you're the witch. So a bird at the stage. You only said 10 to 12 words. These have been, they're not full words. Yeah.
Mama, go by change. You want to make out?
Alright. I'm ready. Uh-huh. Use those undies. He'll erase that.
Oh, yeah, you.
What?
It says planes. They didn't have airplanes then.
Oh,
Couldn't have been a plane crash.
okay. Let's do it.
Kings said we went by a liquor store. I had to go and get a bottle. So
Yeah,
we should give us a couple of shots.
Yeah. Oh, got a brown ball. I'll hold the camera.
Yeah, as far as that was saying. All right, so since you guys are still kind of learning and struggling with what you're listening to, I'm going to pull us to the back and get you guys the answers to all of those crazy questions, unless, of course, you've heard something on yours yet.
No, not that I can decipher.
I would say, obviously, so far, Sarah's device has been the most exciting. Obviously, she had a lot of motion, but I'm going to explain what those readings actually mean. So, keep looking like we're missing a person, because there are 6 of you here. So, let's come back to where we started. So definitely want to keep your device unmuted, so let's go ahead and keep it running just so in case we do miss something, it's still up and running and you can keep your REM pod on while we're still here. So the readings that she's getting out of there, the highest one we heard, or we saw, that was 41 milligauss. I'm going to give you the examples of that way you guys know what those readings actually mean. So behind your television set you have a bunch of wires, right? At least you should. Otherwise, obviously TV's not working. If you put that device behind your television, you're going to get about a 40 to 60 milligauss type of reading, which is what we're using tonight for units of measuring, milligauss. She went all the way to 41 in an area where there's no wiring. So take that for what it's worth. Your microwave running on high and you're standing next to it with the door shut is about 150 to 170 milligauss. The highest reading I've ever seen on that device has been in this space at 214 milligauss. That is higher than your microwave running on high, just so you know. Dangerous levels. So she's like, yeah, give me a 200. You know that they're not in there, right? It's not a walkie-talkie for the
She's pretending.
So let's go through some of these answers since I don't have any spirit box work to go with other than the word list that actually we have on Jane's device. So I always like to show you guys mugshots of the people that you're trying to hunt down. Yeah, you need to know what the heck these people look like. That's important, right? Whenever I get the tablet out, I always kind of go around the horn. That way you guys don't have to, overbear and crowd. This is Eliza Lucas Pinckney. So this is the second wife. She married Charles at the age of 22. He was 45. So again, these are numbers that I'm looking for. It's better than 12 and 25.
I can't believe you said that.
Wow.
She's beautiful. What are you talking about?
The first wife, her name was Eliza Lamb Pinckney. So Lamb and Lucas were the maiden names that hopefully will come up in spirit box activity in this location. Now, the mansion caught fire in 1861, December 11th of 1861. There's our first clue with the December that popped up. So obviously I'm going to be searching for the number 11 and 61 on your guys' recording when I'm going through it. So, or anything relatable to a fire. The only picture we have of the mansion was after the fire damage. So, this is where you're standing right now. This was the mansion. Now, every tour guide in town is going to tell you about a great fire of whatever year it happened in. This one's the Great Fire of 1861. This fire was one of the biggest in Charleston. I hate to just use that bragging right, but I like to show you how big the fire was. This is a map of the peninsula of Charleston. You're standing on the green dots on the right-hand side of the screen in the orange flame. This is about $7 million worth of damage in 1861. So this is a giant fire. So again, I just like to give everybody that kind of perspective. Usually when I've been showing this picture, the word divide has been either showing up on your word list or through a regular spirit box because it's literally divided, to the tip of the peninsula. The children, there's 4 of them grand total. So let's go through them real quick. Charles, signer of the Constitution, we already talked about. Let's move on. So, I love how she's testing the ground. The next child, his name was Thomas. He fought in a Revolutionary War battle. He was shot in his left leg and captured by the British. That was in the Battle of Camden. Camden is southwest of here, about 3 hours away. Yeah, when he was released, he was actually left on a cane the rest of his days. We didn't get anything relatable to Thomas tonight, but again, I'm just giving you the clues that I look for.
And who was he?
That was Eliza's son. We're going through the children right now.
Okay.
So the next child was baby George. You can kind of already see where this one's going. This is the tragedy I asked you all not to poke the bear with. Baby George does not have a grave or a headstone. His death certificate has the same month and year in the birth and death column, June of 1747. My theory on why George does not have a headstone or a grave is that they would have kept the baby mummified right here in the home, waiting for his mother to pass so he could be buried with his mother. Yeah, it's a theory because you can't really Google mummied baby and not expect a phone call. But it is a great possibility based on religious beliefs of the times. It's going to get even weirder when we start talking about Eliza's death. The last child, though, the only daughter, her name is Harriet. She married in Horry. Myrtle Beach is in Horry County. That should give you an idea of where she lived. It wouldn't have been a 2.5-hour car ride to go see her daughter. Lots of letter writing back and forth. We do get terms wrapped around letter writing. When Harriet's name pops up, we'll be like quill, paper, ink, published. We didn't get anything relatable to that, and it's very seldom that we actually hear from Harriet, but when we do, it's very distinctive with those type of words. Eliza's death. She was 70 years old when she died in 1793. Wow. Yes, that's a long time to be living during colonial times. So, she was going to Philadelphia, getting treatments for whatever they thought she had. Turned out to be breast cancer. We're going based off of her medical records now because they didn't truly know what breast cancer was in 1793. She died in Philadelphia. She's buried in Philadelphia. That should ask two questions to the back of your own brain. First off, baby George. Yes, if my theory is true, they would have transported that child all the way to Philadelphia by horse and carriage, if my theory is correct. Yeah, how creepy is that? I just don't want to be that driver. The other piece of that is, why are we here if she's buried in Philadelphia? I don't take you to actual cemeteries, folks. You don't get a lot of activity in cemeteries. None of you are going to be hanging out by your grave when you're gone. You're going to go to your mansion 400 miles away, which is why we go to spaces like this. So, any guesses as to who the president was, 1793, that was the pallbearer at her funeral?
I don't know.
Going once, twice? Washington, at his own request, wanted to pay homage to Eliza based on her indigo helping to get his country started. So, I will tell you, I played one subliminal trick on you. When we got here, I told you I'm not going to be giving you questions like, what color is George Washington's white horse? And I put George Washington in the back of all of your brains. The fact that you guys even still did not give me a correct answer after I asked you the question directly is a good sign. That means none of you are subject to subliminal messaging. You passed with a fail. Good job. That's the point. So, again, I do that purposely because sometimes I get folks on the spirit boxes that just want to repeat everything I'm saying. I heard Eliza. I heard Mansion. I heard Pinckney. No, you did not hear Pinckney on the radio. So, with that said, this is a space what we call an intelligent haunting. We ask questions. We hopefully will get answers. Obviously, we missed something going on with the spirit box. As I spot check it, because we had a lot of activity going on with Sarah's device, so something's going on somewhere else. I'm hoping that you are close enough that if you miss something, you'll be able to capture the audio from your camera. The next space we're going to is a residual haunting. It is not the same as this one. We will not be able to ask questions because it's like watching a movie on a loop over and over and over again. Now, here's what's going to happen. It is about 3 blocks away because, yes, I'm taking you to legitimately haunted locations.
That's a 48.
48. That's the highest we've had so far. And you're acting like, yeah, no big deal. So, 48. Now, along the way, Sarah, you're going to turn your REM pod device off, and you're going to ignore the red screen simply because the parking meters are going to make it go off. We don't have any ghosts following us.
So turn the back off?
Yeah, go ahead and hit that white button, and then push your antenna in. Video cameras, stop recording. You're not going to record on. Both of you are working with a spirit quiet area because we're next to a hotel.
Yeah.
We're actually only going to be using your red screen in this location because we're going to be testing a few things. So, what have we heard along the way? Other than let me know if there's a challenge. Yeah. You got any words that should show up on your
Scarlet.
Scarlet.
Terry.
Terry. I got nothing on that. Did you guys capture anything on yours?
No.
Angry.
Angry.
Oh, just happened?
Angry.
So, that can happen down here. Again, if it gets a little hairy, I do move this on pretty quickly, just so you guys know. So, there are things inside my bag that kind of keep everything grounded, but every once in a while, somebody gets a little out of whack. So, I'll move this on pretty quickly if you guys start hearing things a little too dark for my taste. Definitely get that record button hit, and then we want to keep both cameras either angled, not directly at me, so to speak, but maybe one way down the other. So that way we can get some footage of this location. Your camera down here, Chelsea, loves to capture orbs. So just so you know, it's a great spot. Where are we? When we crossed that last crosswalk coming down East Bay Street, that's where the original Charlestown Wall used to be. Charleston used to be called Charlestown, the walled city. It was one of 3 fortified cities in the Americas. So we're standing on one of the first streets we ever had in Charleston. That's why I like to bring you guys down here. The second reason is not a whole lot of tourists like to come down here. There's not a whole lot of stories, myths, and legends for them. But I went and deep dove right into the history of this location. People used to live here. I have the full list of residents of every single person that's ever lived here. I do get the 2 same common names every 6 to 7 weeks. So I'm going to explain that in just a moment. But when I say people lived here, it's not like a lengthy list. Like it's like a page and a half of people that lived here. Yeah, you guys are getting clues next to for the next location, which is kind of like what happened with Jane's device earlier. So again, very weird. So and it happened just the other night too. So I'm not like super surprised by it. But anyway, back to this space. The names I commonly get are Benjamin and John. Benjamin and John both lived here in 1801. Do I have anything specific that happened in 1801? I don't, but I get the same two names every 6 to 7 weeks. There are 4 different Johns that lived here in a 60-year time frame. Every once in a while, John will give us his last name. That's Johnson. So we'll get Ben, John, and Johnson all on the same night. Yes, that guy's name is John Johnson.
Discover the legend.
So, interesting thing about this place is what you're standing on. These are Belgian blocks. These bricks are said to be made of granite. So, and I say that very light. So, where's Sarah? Sarah, put your device directly on a brick and leave it there and let me know how high it goes. Granite is not supposed to hold an EMF charge whatsoever. I'm actually studying this location specifically about the science of the rocks here just because it's part of the stone tape theory. Basically, when bricks or anything made of nature has been in the same place for a long period of time, which these were laid in at least 1739 that we know of, they said they hang on to the consciousness of memories and then replaying it back on devices of what we have now, just kind of back on a loop over and over and over again. Those two names, Benjamin and John, I get them every 6 to 7 weeks. I can't make it up. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, you could put it directly on the ground, like set it down, and that way you're not leaned over on it. There you go. But before people lived here, the Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here, hence the name Lodge Alley.
Freemasons.
So,
5-minute conversation.
5-minute conversation.
My stepbrother's a Freemason.
we will get terms like Mason, Brick, Freemason. I've also seen and heard the word Illuminati show up down here quite a bit. A lot of times when I'm talking about the Freemasons, the word symbols will pop up on the word list. Again, I can't make this stuff up, and I'm not triggering anything for it to do anything specific. The word Illuminati I'm going to put in the back of your heads only because, first off, who the hell is talking about the Illuminati on the radio? That's what it's coming through mostly. We've heard it 6 times last year and 3 times so far this year.
3 days.
The other piece of that, I'm only getting that word while we're inside this space. I don't get it anywhere else along our route of where we go, just so you guys know. This is a very interesting space. Did we get any kind of readings on that at all, Sarah?
6.
6? That's actually good for this location. So with that, normally we wouldn't get anything above a 1.1 because ground natural EMF goes up to about 1.1. The fact that you got a 6 is actually a good sign. The highest I've seen it go is 11.7. Some nights we don't get anything. It stays right around 0.8, which is what I would expect for the location, but a 6 is definitely something to be looked at. So, and I know it doesn't sound like much compared to the Pinckney Mansion site, but when you're down here 7 nights a week and you know what it's supposed to be, yeah, 6 is actually pretty exciting. The next space we're going to go to, just so you know, this is a brief stop. It kind of gives you the layout of the land for the rest of our evening together. We're going to go to another alley, but I can't take you all the way through it. Why? Because I've been kicked out of it. You guys have all the blinky lights and the noisemakers and that kind of thing, so I still tell the story of what goes on there, just stirring up a lot of activity, because we will get clues from that space, obviously around it, because we're getting clues to it of where we're standing now, and including where we came around that bend when you guys first heard that, please notify me if it's a challenge or whatever it was. I wrote it down specifically, but the word challenge stuck out. So I will tell you that story. I will also tell you the fun part of it, of how I got booted out of the alley, because it is actually relevant to the spaces that I take you after that. So it's very interesting. We're going to be cutting through a neighborhood as we exit this alley. So both videos, you'll end your video as we exit this alley because we don't record in residential areas. But as far as EMFs, the parking meters are going to make it go off again, Sarah. So if you get a spike while we're inside the alley, please let me know. But outside of it, we'll debunk it as a parking meter and crosswalks. Any words, Jane, before we move on?
Technical.
Technical. Yes, I'm getting technical, which means Jane wants to move on.
Intelligent. Was that just setup? Yeah. What was that other phrase you heard? Something about a challenge.
Yeah,
I'll let you know when there's a challenge.
I got that one.
Oh, angry and angry. You said something about choose your weapon. Choose your weapon.
Bring my clues in the morning before the battle.
we're supposed to shut these off now, right? Huh?
It's a place for you.
All right, Jane, what's up? What's going on with your work list? Anything?
12. Technical, cell, weight. That's it.
I don't have to write down here, so it's doing it for me.
Okay.
Interesting. So you guys have 2 words so far that are obviously relevant to this location, and you feel guilty or whatever that was. Like, that's a great relevance to the location, but we're going to see what actually pops up else around it. Shay, anything coming up out of yours?
No, it's been muted.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, because we were cutting through the neighborhood. My bad. So, for those of you filming, I want you to film the alley behind me very inconspicuously. This is a very popular location for other tours. They did not pay to get filmed. You guys did, just so you know. That's kind of how we roll with this. So, behind me is what we call Philadelphia Alley now. It used to be called Dueller's Alley. This is where the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston, hence the word challenge sticking out to me. You can see it now. Now, also choose your weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty big deal.
Oh.
But yeah, you guys see how I put all this stuff together now that they're hearing certain things? Very interesting indeed. With that,
Priorities.
we all tell the same dueling story because we can actually prove it. Of course, I tell it differently because it's not a campfire ghost story to me. There's a lot of clues and details that I'll tell you that you won't hear on another tour. So let's get into this. There's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because his fiancée Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with all of this cash. The attorney thinks that the doctor is just after Amanda's money, so he tells Amanda to get rid of the doctor. To prove that he's not just after her money, he moves to Charleston. As he's coming into town, the coachman set him up to be robbed and killed, so it wasn't a very good start to his stay in Charleston. Somebody walking by sees what's going on, and he knows the guy, the coachman that set him up, and his name is Ralph Isaacs, the guy who sees everything going on. I'm going to stop on Ralph because you're ghost hunting. Ralph Isaacs has the same initials as to where the doctor came from, Rhode Island. RI shows up here all the time, but I need the secondary clue so I know who it belongs to. But Ralph says, dude, you don't want to stay here. He's got a gunman inside. He's going to try to kill you and take all your money. But I got some friends at 59 Church Street where you can rent a room and you'll be safe. The doctor takes him up on the offer, and the two become friends. The doctor's practice starts to take off the longer he's in Charleston, so he's making his own money, and Amanda's moving down soon. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Now, if you ever go to another haunted city ever in your life, there's going to be a cliched whistling ghost. I can almost guarantee it. This one I actually have proof from, so let's kind of get into the rest of this. Him and Ralph go see plays together, but they can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money than Ralph. He gets better seats. That's the hierarchy. That's the way things go. They're talking about William III one night on the way home. The doctor thought the new actress in town was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. They start arguing. Then Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée, Amanda, back home in Rhode Island. It's even uglier. They go their separate ways. Ralph is from here. He has friends at the newspaper. He goes to his friends at the paper and puts an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. The doctor sees the ad and rebuttals with, let's go to Dueller's Alley. We're going to settle this. So they come down, they take their 10 paces, they turn. The doctor pointed his gun in the air and he shot. He did not want to kill his friend. Is that what it said?
What'd you say?
Remember this. So he shoots his gun in the air. He didn't want to kill his friend. He just had the courage and bravery to show up to the fight, which is often what happened during a duel, by the way. Ralph has his one shot. He puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. The doctor doesn't die either.
Time correct? Something correct.
Something correct. The doctor drops to the ground. His friends pick him up and carry him home to 59 Church Street, where he dies 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. This guy's a doctor. He probably tried to bleed it out himself. So, obviously the campfire part of this story is that when you're walking down the alley, you can hear the whistles from the doctor. I used to take my teams all the way down there and listen. I would tell everybody to listen for the voice recording during that part to see if you have any whistles in the background, and people would email me back. I found a whistle in the background. But I want you to keep in mind, if you're going to do that on your own and you use your voice recorders from your phones, every local knows the damn story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland Street or Queen Street throws a whistle down the alley. I do it every single night. We're going to end up there. My garage is right there. I have to pass the alley every night. If my daughter's on the tour with us, we race to see who's going to throw the whistle first. So, here's how I got booted out of here. This is the fun part, right? Jane's like, yeah, let's hear how Nick got himself in a little bit of trouble. So this alley didn't always come all the way through to this side. So the bricks on the other side are older, obviously, because they were there first. They're sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprint from a slave child at the end of this and fingerprint swipes in those bricks. I treat those bricks the same way I do a grave. None of that kid's not staring at that brick in the afterlife. But everybody on my tours would always want to be on an EMF meter near it.
Antichrist.
What?
What is
The
it?
Antichrist.
The Antichrist, it just said.
Wow. That's interesting, because normally we get very religious terms because we're next to St. Philip's. So you're getting the exact opposite tonight. Very interesting indeed. Yes.
Welcome to our family.
What?
I said
She said,
welcome.
welcome to the family. Everybody wants to stop and look at that brick, and one night, November 26th of 2020, my group decided they're going to stop and huddle around that brick. Well, it's outside a gentleman's dining room window of his beautiful mansion. He was not happy with me. He came out screaming. My daughter thought it was hysterical because Dad's getting yelled at. The next day was Thanksgiving. I did not have a tour that night. I worked in retail management for over 20 years. I finally took a Thanksgiving off. So the next day was November 28th. Yes, all of these dates are relevant. I got a phone call from the tourism office asking me to go down halfway like everybody else or to reroute my tour. So I decided I'm going to reroute because it's not fair to my group of 10 to try to work around 20 to 60 people down there. I didn't know much about this story, nor did I believe in it way up there at the end of the corner. And I'm not a pirate person. I'm a vampire guy through and through. I tell my team we're going to wing it and we move on. Before we leave, somebody hears the name Anne on a spirit box. I did not tell them we were going to be investigating the female pirate Anne Bonny. We get there, I told what I knew, and I told them that I didn't truly believe in a story, but we're going to see what happens. Somebody hears the number 300 while we're there. I don't know what it means yet. The next morning I did the research. We were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. 300 years anniversary. So I keep taking my teams back up there every single night. It's a hit or miss. It is a roll of the dice. Some nights, there's nothing there. Other nights, we get a crap ton that comes through all of these spirit boxes and all these devices, and the REM pod loves to go crazy on command. So we're going to go up there, but where there's a stop in between. I always like to show you what all the other ghost tours are doing first, because yes, some of those stories, they're not so much legends, and I do get a little bit of activity from them. So we're going to stop at St. Philip's Church and Cemetery along the way. For those of you recording video, if you want to continue, by all means, you can continue the rest of the night. I'm actually curious to see if that thing will continue to record, which looks like it's doing great. But continue listening to your spirit boxes. Your readings are still kind of out of whack until we get to that last stop. She's like, damn it, you've been having me out of the game for a while. All right, have we had any words show up since we've been here before we move on?
Owner.
Yeah, nothing. Let's
Nothing.
do this. I don't know, do you guys want Antichrist in your notes? I'm not sure that I do.
It's there. It takes a little bit more than that, Sierra. Yeah.
That's cotton candy. That's those trees. I'm telling you. Oh, it's his vape?
Oh, she's
Oh, Jesus.
So before I have you guys actually have a seat, jump all over that. Over this courtyard is the wall to Philadelphia Alley. Notice that there's a gate right in the middle of it. That gate is for the loser of the movie. He's the dead guy. It was a shortcut to get to the cemetery behind me. So not a lot of people know why that gate is actually there. But that's the specific reason why that gate is there. It does have a runner and gate on it now. I call it the dead body. So remember that the alley doesn't always go all the way through. Otherwise, they have to carry the dead body all the way down the street and then bring it back around to get to the cemetery. So, yeah. By that point, you guys are on vacation, you're getting all worn out. So, every ghost tour stops.
Publican?
What was it?
Publican?
No, that's specific.
Okay.
So it's a good one, actually. I know what's going on with this. Cemetery up here to my right, which would be your left. It's very interesting. And I'm going to have somebody Google this really fast. Somebody look up the political portrait of John Calhoun for me.
What's the last
John
name?
Calhoun.
Yeah, your 7th vice president. Let's see what his political
John. I got it, Jane.
Got it, huh?
Yes, Mom. John Calhoun, American statesman. Political.
Anything on there?
I don't know. Hang on. My phone is still.
Political parties may not have been.
He's the Democratic.
Democrat. So, again, you heard Republican, I got all excited. So, I like to point out a couple things about the cemetery before I tell you why every ghost tour goes up to that cemetery. But there's two different sides to it. The eastern side, which is the side we're sitting on, is for basically the natives. So, if you're from Charleston, you can get buried on this side. Charles Pinckney, the husband, and Charles Pinckney, the nephew, are both buried over here. Every once in a while, we will get a clue relative to them. Not very often, but we will get it. The other side is for everybody else. So, if you're not from here and you belong to the church, you get buried across the street. Your 7th vice president, John Calhoun, is across the street. So they weren't exactly sure if he was from here or not, so they just shuffled his ass back and forth trying to figure out where he was supposed to go. Turns out he's not from here, he just lived here for a very, very long time. So, but they all stop up there because there's a sign right inside the gate. It says there's no ghost here but the Holy Ghost. And to be honest with you, I let the other tourists have it because it's their last final show and tell, like they have something to go by. Your show and tell is in your hands, right? So I let them have it. After we're done talking about the pirates across the street, if those of you with video cameras want to come back over and try to get some footage, if there's no tour there, by all means you can do that. But again, I just try to stay out of their way and let them do their thing. But the sign reads, there's no ghost here but the Holy Ghost for a reason. There's a young lady that dies in 1888 by the name of Sue Howard Hardy. She dies 6 days after her stillborn child. That's pretty much the end of her story, other than the fact that in 1987, a local photographer was in town, well, not in town, he's local, taking pictures of all the cemeteries. He's putting a book together. He does capture a full apparition in one of his photographs. As he's developing his photos, he finds an apparition in one of the pictures. It's 1987, so he doesn't have any kind of text to go off of like what we have now. So he has to send it to Kodak. I don't think I have to explain what Kodak is to us. That's kind of cool. The teenagers look at me like I'm nuts, by the way. They have no idea. But yeah, Kodak doesn't know what to do with this photograph either. So for guys like me, this thing is gold. But it is cursed to females. So I'm going to ask that everybody, please do not touch the tablet as I'm going down the line and showing everybody this picture. They say if you're handling it, even in a digital format, symptoms like what we talked about at the beginning, the headache, the nausea, the dizziness, can occur. Pregnant females are probably not going to have a good pregnancy based on the gist of the stillborn baby in the story. So I'm not going to be the guy where somebody has a great vacation and 9 months later I curse their family. Don't touch my damn tablet. Is that clear to everybody? Good, got it. Let's get this party started. But again, I will zoom in on the actual apparition so everybody can see it clearly. But that's the reason why everybody goes up there is because they have an actual photograph to show as soon as I find it. So, here. There we go. So 2x2, I'll show it the picture. This is the full photograph that he did. You're a dude. I wasn't worried about you.
Oh, yeah.
There's your full apparition.
Wow.
That's her grave. That's her shoulders. You're looking at the top of her head
Wow.
and the baby basket next to her. This is probably another instance where the mom is buried with the baby. So full photograph. You can see where this would look a little out of place. We can zoom in with today's technology. Shoulders, top of head, baby basket right next to her.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. That's why every ghost tour goes
It's
there.
cool
It's their
trees,
big,
the
giant,
branches.
final hurrah. I just let them have it. But again, if you guys want to go over there and get footage afterwards, by all means do so once we're actually investigating across the street, because we're going to be doing, all devices out full force across the street once we go over there. But let's get your mindset going on pirates. Does everybody see the green gas lamp across, down the way there a little bit? That's the pirate house. It's got a big anchor on the front of it. can't miss it when you guys are walking around town. Somebody does live there, so don't go in his backyard looking for ghosts. He gets pissed off. Don't ask me how I know all these things. But again, he's one of those guys, like, he will come out screaming. And I know it for certain. Anyway, that's where Blackbeard's men came off their ships, had a place to stay, met with a few young ladies, and they dug a tunnel underneath that pirate house, from 1 block away to Dock Street Theater. Dock Street Theater at the time was called Planters Hotel. It was a whorehouse, a playhouse, and a hotel. Obviously, pirates, it's a whorehouse was the major attraction. But pirates were our first stagehands. They would actually go over there to work at the playhouse in between bartering with the locals. That is not a myth or a legend because we just filled in that tunnel in the 1990s. We're below sea level. Why the hell did it take us so long to fill in that tunnel? The golden age of piracy took place in the early 1700s, which means it was there like 200 years plus. Like, what, 280 years? Like, that's a long time. We flood here all the time. So I'm really surprised. There's a lot of rumors around that place, but I'm going to pretty much call those out. So let's do that. I say that the tunnel went all the way out to the tip of the peninsula, and that was a way for the pirates to be able to sneak into town. I'm going to call BS on that one because, first off, how the hell are you going to hide a pirate ship in our bay so you can sneak into our town? Like, that's just stupid. The other thing is 40 to 60 men crawling underneath that tunnel every time they want to come to Charlestown to work a little bit. Yeah, I don't see that happening either. They also say that Blackbeard actually buried some of his treasure there. I call bullshit on that because we all know that that treasure is in North Carolina, not South Carolina. So keep that in mind if you know anything about your pirate lore. That would have been in Ocracoke where Blackbeard.
I was gonna say
protecting it for a
I
reason.
was. I knew that.
Yeah. So again, I am not a pirate person, but I've read more books on piracy since that first night that I told you about earlier that I can probably spout most of these pirate careers off the top of my head. I read a lot, I watch a lot. Like there's a lot that goes into this. So before you guys all fall asleep because Sarah's over there not working, let's get us across the street so we can get all back to work on this last location. Sarah's down there working.
Is he out of work? No, I mean,
Oh, I don't know. I don't think he will be. Go ahead, please.
This is our last stop. Yeah, we were waiting on you.
I know.
Okay. I think I gave everybody a hard time about something tonight. Did I make sure I was like? All right,
you've been more than fair.
Dividing up the hard time. So this is our last stop. So again, we're going to do a full investigation like what we did at the Pinckney Mansion site, but you're going to be able to venture off a little bit more. For those of you with cameras, we already talked about the cemetery, but you can also go to the front of the powder magazine over there. Once I'm done giving you the history, just don't interrupt the other tours. That's the only thing that I ask. So let's get into this space because this is a crazy whopper of a story. Even if we don't get any activity here, this story alone is worth the stop. So we're going to be talking about the powder magazine. That's the little building up there with the crosses on it. Those are not crosses, by the way. Those are earthquake bolts. If nobody explained what earthquake bolts are to you, they're basically turnbuckles. If we have another earthquake like what we did in 1886, which we have not, they say you can turn those turnbuckles and it's supposed to straighten the building back up again. It's a great idea. It just doesn't work. Yeah, it's bullshit. I talk to a lot of people from California. Yeah, the reason I bring these ones up is because these are the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston actually put in because this is the oldest government building in South Carolina, finished in 1713. So we talked about those Charlestown walls earlier. That parking garage over there is where the wall stood. It went up past the powder magazine just about half a block and started going south behind me to lock it into the corners of the wall on purpose. If a pirate ship or Revolutionary warship attacks it from 3 blocks away from the water, it's going to have a hard time getting through the 35-inch thick walls. So we're going to pretend that it does and blows up the gunpowder. So pirate attacks and it goes through, the gunpowder blows up. There's sand underneath those shingles that you're looking at that is designed to go up in the air with the explosion and then fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder. The sand is still there. It was put there in the early 1700s and sand does not disintegrate. That's another great idea, but that shit don't work either. We had another powder magazine closer to the battery. It did get attacked and the sand went up, but the building burned to the ground. So apparently there wasn't enough sand in there to put out the fire. This one's just never been attacked. It has served in 7 different wars and a rebellion. So you're like, why the hell are we here if we're talking about pirates? Basically, this building took 10 years to build. Does that sound like our government, small building, 10 years? No, not at all. We're here because this building is familiar to the time that Anne Bonny actually started her pirate career right here in Charleston. It's kind of like using a toy to attract a child ghost. That's the kind of, I call this a familiar. So, right in the middle of its construction, let's get into this story of Anne Bonny. 1708, a young lady moves here. Her name is Anne Cormack. She's a young lady at this point, not quite yet married, but she moves here with her father and his mistress. The mistress is her mother. Is everybody with me so far? There's a couple twists and turns in this one. So they're running away from his wife. How pissed was she, Jane? You got to get up and leave the country?
Yep.
Yeah, they came here from Ireland. They land in Georgetown, just north of here. So that's between us and Myrtle Beach. Dad buys a plantation, Mom dies pretty quickly. So that means he has to send young Anne down here to Charlestown to sell anything from the plantation and keep things afloat. Now, Anne back home in Ireland was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants when she was only 10 or 12 years old with a knife to the belly. Like, I'm just giving you the mentality of this young chick. So, we're going to fast forward. Building's done in 1713. Pirates are coming through town in 1715. Anne at the time is roughly about 16, 17 years old, and she is stoked. She's going to fall in love with one of these pirates very quickly. Guy number 1. Yes, I'm going to keep tally. There's a number of them. First guy is James Bonny. You can already see where this one's going because we've already talked about her name several times. But Dad doesn't approve because he's a filthy pirate. They run away to Jamaica. They get married. Anne Cormack becomes Anne Bonny, your most famous female pirate of the Golden Age. But James Bonny is a privateer. This is not the swashbuckling, rum-drinking Captain Jack Sparrow that she was hoping for. This guy is a spy for the British and a coward in her eyes. So 3 years later, she falls in love again. Guy number 2. This guy's name is John Rackham, a.k.a. Calico Jack. This is this actual person that they based the Captain Jack Sparrow character off of, just so everybody kind of has that reference. Jack does have his own ship, and Anne wants to be part of it, but you can't put a girl on a pirate crew because that's bad luck. But basically, you know, there's a curse there. So he makes a deal with her. He wants to sneak her on the ship, so he says, if you dress like a guy and be part of the crew and hide your gender, you can be a female in my quarters and all will be well. He's the captain. Of course she goes along with it. And she's okay with this because back home in Ireland, Dad used to cross-dress her as a boy to keep her away from his wife. So she's like, whatever, I'm a pirate, let's go. We're all adults here, 2 and 2 together. She's a female in his quarters. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. She's a female. So he drops her off in Cuba. Go have the baby. These are friends of mine. They'll help you out. Come back later. We'll figure it out. She comes back, but there's no child. We have no idea what happened to this kid. She's also dressed like a female, which makes Jack pretty pissed off. Jack, while she was away, captured another pirate crew that's down below deck, and Anne's going to go flirting with that pirate crew because that's what Anne does. Guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female, dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured. So now we have 2 females doing the exact same thing on the same ship. Her name is Mary Reed. Her and Mary become friends, possibly lovers, because we'll never know for certain. But the British find out where they are. The British find out where they are. They send their entire fleet of ships to take down one pirate ship. Anne and Mary are the only 2 pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks. They can't work the cannons yet. They don't know how. So they're obviously going to get taken because this is a whole fleet of British ships. And as they're being arrested, she looks at her beau and captain, Calico Jack, and says, you should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog. The word dog obviously stands out on our spirit boxes here. So, the judge, his name is Nicholas Laws. He wants to see the 2 men that fought back so valiantly by themselves after he's tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunken pirates that wouldn't come up and fight. The 2 ladies go in front, they reveal their gender. He doesn't care that they're female. He's still going to hang them because they're still pirates. We plead our bellies, was the last thing they said, claiming to be pregnant. You can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he delays the hanging, sends them both back to jail. Daddy's still here in Charlestown area with all of his Irish money. He bails out Anne, brings her back home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4 has 4 kids and dies at the age of 84. Yes, very abrupt ending that none of you were expecting. All my stories end in death. But Mary Reed dies a year later in 1721 in that Jamaican jail from whatever pirates die from in a Jamaican jail. So, this is not a space where I'm going to give you a shit ton of questions like what I did at the Pinckney Mansion site. I only left out 2 facts that I can actually prove. Everything else is fair game because you guys all know what you're doing with your devices by now. The 2 things that I left out are the name of Anne Bonny's parents, that's the father and the mistress, and the name of Calico Jack's ship. So you can ask either of those questions if you want something to get started with, but I'm going to hang on to you guys for 1 more minute because I did tell you at the beginning of this that people have passed out on my tours. What I tell you now is actually relevant to the story. It'll make sense in just a moment. Back in September, much cooler night than what we have now. Like, we're all sweating. I could see our foreheads glistening. I bring my group back here, just like what we're doing. The kid next to me goes white as a ghost. I have to pick him up by his armpit so he doesn't hit his head on the ground. His boyfriend picks him up from the other side of him. We take him to that wall, which is where we're going to end, by the way. And he get him a bottle of water. He's feeling better. I then tell the story. It's important to know he doesn't know the Anne Bonny story that you now know. So after I'm done telling the story, I spread everybody out with their devices. They pull me aside and tell me they are 2 transgender males. Meaning I had 2 females dressed as males, just like Anne and Mary in the story. and it made complete sense as to why one of them about passed out the minute we entered the space. You have to take that for what it is. Again, I'm a good writer, but I can't make this shit up. So it's one of those stories. Psychics and mediums normally don't make it through my tours. The Pinckney Mansion site, with the amount of EMF that we get from that space, they normally don't make it, just so you guys know. And a lot of people won't tell me ahead of time. But we're going to have fun in this space. Hopefully nothing crazy is going to happen to any of us. But turn up those spirit boxes. Video cameras, you guys know where you're allowed to go at this point. Definitely get your REM pod going. And again, we're going to stay away from the vehicles, but I'm going to go, there's a little ledge over there by that brick wall. I'm going to let you guys work. So you guys, you know, if you want to go over there and sit over there and look and see what you got to do, go sit on the ledge. I'm going to be chilling over there, just smoking, but let's spread out. Let's see what we can find over here. Hey, look on that list.
Want to go over here with me? Want to go make out the cemetery? What'd she say?
Yes, fair.
Is that a lesbian? I'm pretty sure Anne was a lesbian.
Why?
Sarah, the closer you get to the bushes, you have parking here.
I wouldn't mind reading a book about non-binary biography. I haven't heard of her, but I like the idea of a female pirate.
Michael, can you put my bag right here for a second, and I can take a cigarette out when I walk around? Please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
I'm not going to argue.
No, while you're sweating buckets.
Is that still unmuted?
It's unmuted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not muted.
I know it doesn't always give us a signal, so it's hard to tell. This is the space where that device gave me the word pirate, obviously. And it was as we were wrapping things up. So, very strange indeed.
Did you get your lighter? Ask Nick. He's a
I
smoker.
just always,
I
no,
have
he
a
has
vape.
a,
My
has a
lighter's in
vape.
the car.
Because he's smart.
Well, I smoke a tobacco pipe, and that stays in the car.
Okay.
Because there's no way I'm packing a pipe on the tour
Oh,
and
no.
handling the devices. So, that's what the vape is for.
Chelsea have your lighter now?
I have it. Anne?
You have Ann?
I have.
No. Ann. Oh, A-N.
Ann. I'll take that pronunciation. Yeah. Damn close.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for lugging that. for me.
Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering how you acquired that. I was like, whose purse is he carrying around? So, do I have a skeptic in this group? I don't feel like I do.
I'm open to anything, really. I'm not a skeptic. I wish my stepbrother was here because he's a Mason, and he's like very deep into stuff, and he'd really be cooking your brain. I mean, he would. But no, I'm open to anything. Always willing to learn here.
Around here, you got a tag on it. This is named Charlie. Charlie goes and hangs out.
So I either get I get hecklers all the time. I'll get that one husband that just doesn't want to be here, but the wife loves the shows and has some equipment and really gets into things. But the husband is, been dragged here to this, and they just feel like they got to heckle me all night long. And it's like, you know what? Paid for tickets to heckle me all night? Like, seriously?
No.
I'm not saying you. Like, you guys did
but
great.
But no, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
No, definitely. No.
And the way I designed this was for the actual history to start coming through. So if anything else, a skeptic should come here just listening for the history part of it, just based on the research that I've done. And I still get, it's very seldom these days I get the hecklers, but I've had my fair share.
I'm sure.
Especially when I first got started.
I'm sure. And I can see 100% husbands.
Yeah.
Just because, like you said, they just don't want to be here.
Yep.
But no.
So who was the extra person? Because Chelsea booked 5 tickets initially, so who was the tag-along?
Maybe Jess.
Sarah.
Was it? Was it you or not? Maybe. I don't know.
Actually, I'll be able to tell by the
I'm not sure.
original list.
I don't know, there was the whole thing where Sarah wasn't coming for a certain
Well,
time,
yeah, but
right?
no, but
I was
no,
always
no, no,
coming.
no.
That's
Sarah
all.
was always coming. It wasn't Chelsea
Oh,
might not
Chelsea.
be coming,
I don't know.
but then Chelsea booked it, and then maybe I don't know.
I'll be with because
Maybe
she had to
didn't
put
know
all your
that I
names
was
in,
coming.
Yeah,
That's
and then she
possible.
tried to book that extra ticket, but the summer pricing kicked in, so she couldn't book it. So I texted her like a link to get the original pricing that she had. She must have, obviously did it on the layover of when that pricing kicked in. Yeah, it would have been your ticket.
Shower we get in bed.
I'll just sleep on the couch. Easy. I was just gonna dive in the pool.
Oh, alright. Sarah said she's doing that.
All right, I'll take a shower. Gonna have to put a shot to Tori Moore or whatever the hell that is.
Tell them what to do. I don't know if I can get it out of me.
She's over there sitting down. More in the hall.
Okay, what?
More in the hall.
My mother's just walking away. You can get it. I know, I'm gonna get you one for Christmas. My sister keeps I was just sitting with her, and she said, look, Sarah's got friends over there, because Sarah's son was little.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as she said that, in our ear, it said friends. Here, let's just go. I would like to go see this church.
What are you doing?
I would like to go see this church.
Can we do that?
I mean,
It's 10:22. Don't get too far away. We're going to get back. We can go home.
We missed the Uber.
Huh?
We missed the Uber. Wow, this is something though, isn't it?
I was afraid we were going to go back to the cemetery that we walked through. That would have been eerie, you know.
Can I see your phone?
Yeah, why?
Because I was
What's wrong with yours?
mine's in my stand.
I'll wait for you here. Hmm?
I'm going back.
You got my phone?
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I don't care.
That is something. Do you want me to take my phone?
You didn't tell me. I'm the one asking the questions.
I'm
I
asking the
think that's
questions. You're
what he
getting
said.
the answers.
He said that William was relevant, so I don't know. What's happening? It said William.
name. He said that was the father's name.
On there?
Apparently that's her father's name.
Whose father?
Anne Bonnie.
Oh. Okay, come on. But that's not the name of the ship, William.
I don't know.
No, not really.
Wow.
That cemetery back there is beautiful, y'all.
What?
That cemetery back there.
Is it?
You can walk through that during the daytime.
During the
They
day.
keep it open, yeah.
They lock it at night.
Well, they keep it open during the day because there's a vice president over there. So
Okay.
normally when you're visiting a city where a president or vice president is buried, like they keep that cemetery open to the public.
Okay. Oh.
So it's kind of like the rule of thumb, you know, nobody's going to be going over there to destroy it, even though it is Calhoun and all of his monument actually got taken down in 2020.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and stop those videos. So hit the square on your